Hola, power players. Welcome to the T-shirt transfer paper power half hour, brought to you by the fine folks here at Condé Systems Incorporated. My name's Doug DeWitt, transfer paper product manager and host of the show. Welcome to it. You might notice here the little decor I have on my T-shirt. This is my pocket Rodeo Bow logo because today is Rodeo Bow's birthday. Happy birthday, Rodeo Bow. Thank you for sitting in the director's chair, making everything run here at the T-shirt transfer paper power half hour. And I hope you have an excellent birthday. Hope everyone out there is enjoying the day. And I hope you're here to learn something, because today we are going to compare our brand new Inkjet Opaque material that we call Condé JetMPrints OPAQUE II. And we're going to compare it to the industry standard, which is Neenah Coldenhove 3G JET-OPAQUE. We're going to put the papers through their paces, see what they can do, see what's similar, see what's different, and hopefully give you the information that you need to make a decision on which paper is going to be the best for you to start making dark garment transfers with a standard inkjet printer, or if you happen to have a cutter, you can incorporate a craft cutter. So before we get started, what do we have to do, Rodeo Bow? We got to pay the power bill. And the first thing up on the power bill, you need to tune in this Friday to Friday Live. Sprite and Bo are going to have a special guest from Sawgrass. Should be a real interesting show. That is this Friday, right, Rodeo Bo?
We also have one tomorrow.
Oh, so there's two Friday Lives, a special Wednesday edition tomorrow at 3:30, and then Friday with Sawgrass at 3:30. So make sure you tune into those. Should be fun. You can view those on our YouTube channel, which is condetv.com, or you can view it on Facebook Live. Also, this month we have our Christmas in July special. Don't forget about the $20 off coupon that we have for orders over $200. Make sure you get that coupon code off of our website, condé.com. And also, you've only got 2 weeks to register for our virtual open house, which will be July 28th through the 30th on your computer. Registration is free. We are going to have some awesome giveaways, special discounts on equipment and supplies, as well as some great educational classes featuring yours truly. That is our virtual open house, July 28th through 30th. Make sure you register. Condé.com is the website. Okay, Rodeo Bow, I think we got the power bill paid. Let's talk about these two papers. And what we're comparing is our brand new Inkjet Opaque material that we call JetMPrints II to the industry standard, which is Neenah 3G JET-OPAQUE. Now, first thing we need to cover is the size availability of both products. When it comes to our JetMPrints OPAQUE II, it's only going to be available in cut sheet sizes. You've got 8.5 by 11 inch, which is letter size. You have 11 by 17 inch, which is tabloid. Now, as far as those sizes are concerned, both of those are also available with Neenah 3G JET-OPAQUE, but Neenah 3G JET-OPAQUE also comes in rolls. You can get a 13-inch, 17-inch, or 24-inch roll. Those rolls are 100 feet in length. So if you run a roll-fed machine, you're probably looking at the 3G JET-OPAQUE, because you do have that roll option available. Now, as far as a direct comparison between the two papers, I'm going to pull a sheet of JetMPrints OPAQUE II out of my pack. And I believe I've got a sheet, let me grab one here real quick, of 3G JET-OPAQUE. And Bo, if you can give me the side view. Thank you very much. This is the 3G JET-OPAQUE from Neenah Coldenhove. You'll notice the distinct mark on the backing sheet. This is our JetMPrints OPAQUE II. See if we can focus in a little. There we go. And the back sheet mark for it. If you come back to me, Rodeo, thank you. It may be hard for the camera to pick up, but if there's one thing that you will notice comparing the papers side by side, so to speak, the Neenah 3G JET-OPAQUE has a much smoother emulsion layer than the JetMPrints OPAQUE II. If you run your finger over it, you can feel the texture to the Condé JetMPrints II. Like I said, the 3G Jet Opaque has a much smoother feel to it. Another thing that you might notice if you have the sheets side by side is the JetMPrints Opaque II seems to be a little heavier sheet than the Neenah 3G Jet Opaque. Now, where I noticed that as far as printing was concerned is sometimes with a lighter sheet, if there tends to be some moisture in the atmosphere and it soaks some of that moisture in, the paper has a tendency to curl a little with the Neenah 3G Jet Opaque. And where you might run into an issue with that is a symptom that we call head striking within an inkjet printer. In other words, when the edge raises up and the inkjet print heads slide over and catch the edge of the paper. Sometimes, depending on the severity of the head strike, you might do a little damage to your print heads, which of course is a no-no. Having a thicker material, so to speak, I've noticed that the JetMPrints Opaque II has a tendency to be more flat. I wasn't getting the head strike on the corner like I was with the few sheets of 3G Jet Opaque that we were testing. Now, for testing purposes, what we are using is an Epson Echo Tank. I believe the model is a 3850. But when it came to running these prints, I ran them both the same way. And Bo, I'm going to go ahead and load a sheet into my Epson printer of our JetMPrints Opaque II. And if you can get me to my computer, please, I want to show people the media settings that I was running. Okay, thank you, Bo. Here we are. I am operating out of Silhouette Studio. This is the program that you can use to both print and cut. As you can see, I have my design here. And when I send the design to the Epson printer, bear with me one second. I've got my Epson 3850 selected. I go into Preferences. And on both papers, what I did was I ran under paper type, Premium Photo Paper Glossy. And the reason I selected this setting is because some of the matte paper settings or plain paper settings were putting down just a little bit too much ink. And that can be an issue when you're operating an inkjet transfer paper of any type. If you oversaturate the print, the first time you wash your shirt, you might have some ink bleeding. While it's really not doing anything to the image itself, it does set a bad example, so to speak. So, you know, the modus operandi that I use is you only want to use enough ink to do the job. And I found that this setting seemed to be the best one. Of course, I'm printing in standard mode. There is a high quality mode, but on a single sheet opaque material, that might be a little overkill. But really the only adjustment you need to make is to the paper type. And like I said, this was able to work with both the Condé JetMPrints Opaque II and Neenah 3G Jet Opaque on this particular printer. You may want to experiment with the settings on your own inkjet printer to find the best print setup for your particular paper that you're running. Like I said, a little bit of ink goes a long way, so just make sure that you do not oversaturate. Okay, so now that we kind of have that covered, what I want to do is show you some finished prints side by side. Give me one quick second, Rodeo. Let me grab them. The first print I'm going to show is a print from Neenah 3G Jet Opaque. Let me see if I can position this in front of the camera. There we go. What I would say about the Neenah 3G Jet Opaque is because we do have that smooth emulsion layer, you get real nice skin tone representation from it. As far as the color saturation is concerned, the color saturation is really good on the 3G Jet Opaque. This print was produced about an hour before we went live. But as you can see here, it's a very good looking print with the Neenah 3G Jet Opaque. Now hold that, Bo, and I want to show the JetMPrints Opaque II. There we go. Now, what might be tough to pick up from the camera here, ladies and gentlemen, is what I've noticed is because of the slight texture to the JetMPrints Opaque II, when it comes to photographs, you might have a little bit of ink bleeding. It may not hold the dot pattern as tightly as the Neenah 3G Jet Opaque. Another thing I noticed as it started to dry, I started to lose some saturation up in the blacks here at the top of the graphic. In other words, it looks like it was a bit faded. Again, we printed this out about the same time as we did the Neenah product, but if you go with the Condé JetMPrints II, you're probably going to have to move from printer to finished shirt a little quicker than you would with the Neenah 3G Jet Opaque. And if you can hold that angle for one more second, Rodeo, this print just came off. Same image on the Condé JetMPrints OPAQUE II. And if you can notice up at the top, you see the saturation difference. How this one is a little darker than the one that we printed about an hour ago. So like I said, due to the nature of the slight texture to the material and the fact that we are losing a little bit of color vibrancy once the image basically starts to dry out, my recommendation would be, if you're doing line art, clip art work, if you're doing text, simple graphics, I think either paper would work fine. But if you're doing any kind of high-end photographic reproduction, I think just because of the emulsion layer of the Neenah 3G Jet Opaque, you should get a slightly better overall graphic. Thank you, Rodeo. So basically, we've kind of covered the printing performance between the two papers. I think both papers print fine, but if you're looking for true photographic quality, the Neenah 3G Jet Opaque is probably your better option. So now what we're going to do is we're going to test these materials to see how they cut. So Rodeo, if you could get me back over to the computer, let's pull up this graphic in Silhouette Studio again, and let's send it to the cutter. Thank you, Rodeo. Here in Silhouette Studio, I'm going to go ahead and get the send set up. And as you can see, because this is a simple photograph, I've already got my cut line ready to go. One thing I have noticed with the with this particular product, the Condé laser imprints, you're going to have to set your blade depth on a Silhouette Cameo to 2. As far as the force is concerned, I've got the force at 10 at the moment. What I'm going to have to do is reduce the speed slightly, basically bump it all the way down. Let me go ahead and send this through, Rodeo, and let's see how we do. All right, so it looks like it's reading the registration dots here, so to speak. While that is going, I believe right here, this is a sheet of Neenah 3G Jet Opaque that I've already run through the Silhouette Cameo. And let's just do a quick test to see how it weeds, so to speak. I'm going to use Sprite's weeding tool, which I stole off her desk again. I love it when she's not here. Okay, so let's kind of give this thing a pull. And as you can see, the Neenah 3G Jet Opaque should weed very easily when you have the correct settings as far as your cutting speed and depth is concerned. Now, when it came to the Silhouette Cameo, I used the same blade depth, which was 2, although I dropped the force from 10 to 8, was able to leave the cutting speed at around 3 or 4. As far as the 3G Jet Opaque is concerned, it seems to cut pretty darn clean. Just to show you some other examples here. This is a sheet of our birthday boy, gang 6 up on a sheet. And when it came to cutting and weeding the Neenah 3G Jet Opaque, it cut and weeded very easy. As a matter of fact, as far as the fine detail is concerned, you may not be able to see it, but it was actually able to cut around a little bit of the shoelace down in Bo's shoe. So when it comes to cutting and weeding, working with the Neenah 3G Jet Opaques, pretty much a piece of cake. Now showing that same example with the Condé JetMPrints, where I ran into trouble was trying to cut intricate designs like this. When I pulled the weed sheet, the ones on this side didn't cut clean, so they just all came off with the excess material. These were the only ones I was really able to salvage. And as you notice here, I might have some excess material in the crack here where I've lost a little bit of detail here in the arm, so to speak. So if we can get back to me, Rodeo. This is the Condé JetMPrints OPAQUE II. Let's get that side view, Rodeo. And I just want to see on a simple cut if it's able to weed as clean as the Neenah 3G Jet Opaque. And you see right here, I've got a little bit of a jag, so I'm going to hold that corner down. Seems to cut pretty well with a little extra gram force and a little slower speed compared to the Neenah 3G Jet Opaque. However, if your business model is cutting intricate designs and going on to dark cotton garments, in other words, if you're going to use your cutter to do intricate designs, you are probably better off with the Neenah 3G Jet Opaque than our Condé JetMPrints OPAQUE II. It's not that it can cut simple designs. Simple designs are no problem. It's the intricate designs such as this that when you pick your put your pick tool in and you start peeling it away, as you can try to illustrate here. See how that's not coming out clean? See how it's picking up what should be cut away? Sorry, my camera hand's not the best. But if you get my point here, overall, I would say that when it comes to intricate designs, the Neenah 3G Jet Opaque is a little easier to pick and weed. Thank you, Bo. Pardon me. So now that we've done the cutting test, let's see how they look side by side on a t-shirt. So what I'm going to do, ladies and gentlemen, for demonstration purposes, I'm going to use my old trusty Hanes Beefy Tee 100% cotton heavyweight t-shirt. Of course, as far as the materials are concerned, both materials, the Condé JetMPrints OPAQUE II and the Neenah 3G Jet Opaque, will go on to 100% cotton and cotton poly blends. Where they're both going to struggle with is anything with a high polyester content, okay? If you try to lay these materials over something that is polyester, you're going to run into a symptom which is what's called dye migration. Now, to explain that, if we take white material and try to put it on black polyester, the dyes in the black polyester will bleed into your white opaque material. And what they're going to do is they're going to turn the material a shade of gray. Now, once the material itself turns that gray, all the colors that you print on the material shift as well. If you want more information about dye migration, we do have a previous video that we shot on Condé TV. Make sure you look it up. So when it comes to both of these materials, remember, 100% cotton to a cotton poly blend. I wouldn't go any more than 50% cotton and polyester. If you need to do a quick test for dye migration, just take a blank patch of it, put it on a test shirt, and heat it for the time and temperature that we're about to tell you. If the color shifts, then you need to go with a material that has more cotton content. But like I said, we're using 100% cotton, so we shouldn't have any dye migration at all. Let's go ahead and set up our t-shirt. I'm going to take the shirt, I'm going to go ahead and center it on the platen of my handy dandy super trusty Geonite DK20S heat press, the only press we use on the t-shirt transfer paper power half hour. We love it so. Remember sticky lint roller. Definitely want to use a lint roller on your t-shirts with this process because we are trying to put down a solid film. We want as much contact as we can get in order for that film to hold, so no contaminants. Once we think we've got the shirt square, I'm going to swing my heat press over and give a pre-press. Yes, Rodeo, since it's your birthday. Am I done with the cameo? I believe I am. Can we close the lid? Well, Bo, since it's your birthday, there you go. So now everyone can see more of me and hopefully more of what's going on here. Okay, we are at pre-press time. I'm going to lock the press into position, and I want to pre-press for at least 10 seconds, more along the lines of 15 to 20, depending on how much relative humidity we've got, which here in beautiful Mobile, Alabama at the moment, our relative humidity is pretty darn high. So I'm going to go 20 seconds on that pre-press, and the reason is I want a nice, smooth, flat area to work with. Okay. So what we're going to do here is we are going to take our 3G JET-OPAQUE print and our Condé JetMPrints II, and we're going to put them side by side on this t-shirt to see how they do. I'm getting that one started because I want to put the 3G JET-OPAQUE on top. There we go. I knew one corner wanted to get started. I just happened to pick the last corner. Okay, so when it comes to Inkjet opaque material, remember, we want to print our designs right reading. We do not want to mirror or reverse our graphic. We are going to take our material, separating it from our backing sheet, being careful not to crease it or bend it. We want to get it as flat on the shirt as we possibly can. And then we're going to want to cover the material with nonstick silicone sheets, okay? Now, there is a difference between using a silicone sheet and using a parchment paper. Your material has to be nonstick. So if you're using standard parchment paper, make sure that you get the nonstick silicone sheets to go with your Inkjet opaque material. If you happen to order the Condé JetMPrints OPAQUE II, it does include 10 sheets of silicone with the pack. If you go with the Neenah Jet OPAQUE III, remember, you're going to have to order your silicone sheets separate. Now, as a pro tip, what I'm doing is I've got about 4 or 5 sheets of heavy bond paper. And what I'm doing is I'm laying that over the top of these materials. And the reason I'm doing that is when I bring the heat press down, it's going to put a little bit more pressure where I have the paper stacked up, because what I want to ensure is that the edges of the opaque material are flat against the t-shirt. Sometimes when you have a situation, you use an opaque material and you might have the edges pucker on you a little bit. It's a pressure issue, but sometimes it's hard to deliver pressure over the entire shirt when you can use a small stack of paper and deliver a little extra pressure to one particular area. Also, since we're using paper, it shouldn't affect the heat from the platen getting to the material. Now, as far as the instructions are concerned, basically both papers use the same set of instructions. They both apply at 375 degrees Fahrenheit for about 30 seconds. They both require a medium to heavy pressure to apply. Sometimes that pressure might need to be increased depending on the thickness of the cotton or cotton poly blend material that you're using. Also, it may depend on the weave of the material. If you've got a coarse weave, you might have to heat a little longer in order for the emulsion to set into all those nooks and crevices, so to speak. If you're using a tight knit material like a t-shirt, should be pretty easy breezy. Okay. So let's go ahead and remove. And I want to show this to people here in a second, Bo, but I'm doing what I would call a touch test. Kind of hard to figure the difference between the two as far as the thickness. When you're talking about basically like a solid photograph such as this. Yeah, they both seem to feel about the same thickness on a shirt, but let's compare the two prints, Rodeo. Okay, so this is the Neenah 3G Jet Opaque on top. As you can see, we got all of our edges flat using our little trick of stacking paper on top of the opaque material. Make sure you have a non-stick silicone sheet in between them. The bottom print, this is the Condé JetMPrints OPAQUE II. Neenah, Condé, Neenah, Condé. As far as the image that they transferred, they basically both transferred the same image, but like I said, a little bit better saturation in that Neenah 3G Jet Opaque, which is why we've got a more vibrant looking image. Now, perhaps if I play around with some of the settings for the Condé JetMPrints OPAQUE II, I could get it to match the 3G Jet Opaque, but just using the same exact settings, looks like we're getting a little better color saturation. But as far as the feel is concerned, they both feel about the same. As far as bonding to the shirt, they both did an excellent job of bonding to the shirt. Durability-wise, we've got both papers rated 25 hot washes, hot dries on 100% cotton. Back to me, Rodeo Bo. Was there a question from the audience, Bo?
Silicone sheets reusable?
As far as silicone sheets being reusable, yes, they are to a certain degree. You want to remove the silicone sheet from your opaque material once the sheet has cooled down. As long as no ink settles on that silicone sheet, you can reuse the same sheet on your next design. Generally speaking, you should be able to use a silicone sheet about 5 to 6 times before you have to replace it. So what I would say is for every 100 sheets of Neenah 3G Jet Opaque that you get, order a 25 sheet pack of silicone, and that should cover you for the job. Now, speaking of the job, when we're talking about the price of the papers, let's cover that real quick. The Condé JetMPrints OPAQUE II is sold in a 50 sheet pack, not a 100 sheet pack. And like I said, 10 silicone sheets are included with that. As far as our standard price on that pack, you're looking at $59 for 8.5 by 11. When it comes to the 3G Jet Opaque from Neenah, it comes in a 100 sheet pack. 100 sheets of that, like I said, no silicone, has to be purchased separately. You're looking at $119 a pack. So if you do the math, they're basically the same cost per sheet. You're pretty much looking at about $1.18 per sheet for 8.5 by 11, double that for 11 by 17. So price-wise, the papers are pretty much on par with one another. Like I said, just to kind of conclude what we've covered today, yes, Bo?
Can you use this with eco-solvent ink as well as inkjet ink?
That is a good question. When it comes to the Neenah brand product,
Put the question up there so you can read it too.
when it comes to the Neenah brand product, Neenah can be used with dye or pigment inks. They can also be used with solvent and eco-solvent machines. Now, when it comes to our Condé JetMPrints OPAQUE II, you only want to use it with dye or pigment inks. In other words, a standard household inkjet printer. Solvents and eco-solvents are usually in higher end devices, but if that's what you have and that's what you want to use, you want to go with the Neenah brand. Hope that covers that question. Looks like we're running a little bit short on time. So if you have any questions, please post them to this video. Rodeo and I will go through like we do after every show, and we'll try to answer these questions as best we can. Remember to like, click, and share this video if you think it may help friends of yours there in the industry. Make sure you tune in next Tuesday for our next edition of the T-shirt transfer paper power half hour. And remember, we're getting very close to our Condé virtual open house 2022. So make sure you register. Go to condé.com for the details. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope this was educational for you. If you have any suggestions for future videos, make sure to inbox us, TTPPHH@condé.com. Give us a hot topic and we will do our best to cover. Until next time, I'm Doug DeWitt, T-shirt transfer paper product manager here at Condé Systems Incorporated. Thank you for watching the T-shirt transfer paper power half hour. Our time is up, but we thank you for yours.